Hey, this is Nick from Remedy667, and today I'm going to be taking a look at this video that I shot a couple minutes ago of some pizza I was making. So let's take a look at it. So the first thing that you're going to do is uh, duplicate your background layer and then convert the duplicate layer into a smart object, which you can see happens right there. Boop. Duplicate, change to a smart object, double click that, brings you into the smart object. And then I pasted this image that I found on Pixabay. And at first I kind of figured that I would make like a vampire person. I'd run some text like, over on the side over here, but that didn't really work out the way I thought it would. So either way, first thing I did, I zoomed in, drew some fangs with my selection tool, and go in and just drawing them really loose with the mouse. You do this a million times. Used to do it with a Wacom tablet, but now like my wrist gets sore. I got this ridiculous brush, and just use that to fill them in. I'm on a second layer. You see down here my layer panel. And then I brought up a brush that has a little bit of softness, just so I can add a little bit of variation to it, which actually isn't going to matter at all, which you will see once I get to the end of the video and what the actual piece ends up looking like. So zoom out. I had this idea about like blackening out the eyes, but first I wanted to like push the contrast to kind of see how this is going to look, and I'm going to mess around with this a lot, but let's fast forward through the eyes because this is worthless, useless, doesn't get used. Oh, this is neat. Blanking out the nose ring with Command J, whatever that tool is, and then you change this to lighten and darken. So darken it to get rid of your highlights, swap it to lighten, and then I'll get rid of the shadows left behind, and it just clears it right out. It's really good for wrinkles. So we go back into our regular piece from the smart object, and opening up the filter gallery, I'm using a stamp filter here, and there's a couple rounds of grain filter going before it, and I'm just kind of clicking between these, seeing which one I think looks best. I'm really getting, kind of frustrated by this eye. I'm not really getting a whole lot of highlight on the top. You can see I'm losing the teeth with some of them. This gets a little too grainy. But so I decide on this one. Zoom in. So you lose the teeth a little bit. So I'm going to go back in there and clean those up, perhaps. Oh, I did some pattern thing that I didn't use. So now I want to add darkness so that it's more just about the face. And I'm kind of seeing how that works. Still thinking I'm going to use these eyes, but I'm really not liking this area and having a lot of trouble here. And go in and dodging and burning, trying to like add some definition to the nose, add some highlights above the eye there, but then keep the darkness of the eyeball itself, which doesn't necessarily work out. You see the colors there shifting like crazy. That's fine because it's all going to be essentially like a photocopy on your master layer. So this can get pretty dirty. It's not, doesn't really matter. So go with that. See how it just blacked that left or that right eye right out. This is where I make the teeth a little bigger. Still upset with this eye. And then decided, you know what, let's just do the mouth. Highlighted looks good. Roll in here with some custom brushes now, because I had this idea to do like kind of blood stains. I had this brush that I made that I call the Keg Party brush set that, I don't know, I use for all sorts of like kind of stamp spatter. It's I made it from where I work. We have these things called kegs, not a beer, but of fasteners, and they're typically painted white, and then they're metal underneath. And through shipping and just being moved around the warehouse, they get these like gnarly looking dents and like jagged parts of them, and I just love going and taking pictures of those things, and you get these pretty cool textures that you can turn into brushes. But you know, for some reason I didn't have any on this computer or didn't have them open right now, but either way, I found this interesting arrow brush that has some text about a free gift, always fun. And then I put that in there in black accidentally. Confused myself. Hit X to change my color and then stamp it white. So then I go digging for this brush, which doesn't exist. I put some lines at the top and bottom. Oh, this is a fun trick with a stamp brush that looks like a photocopy. So you essentially can just take your stamp brush, throw white all over one layer, then turn it into a clipping mask and roll in there and just kind of swap the colors back and forth. And there you go. You get a good looking photocopy. I make photocopy brushes every time people at work throw away photocopies for looking bad. I go grab them and scan them and then throw them away. Only if they have like big areas of black though, because that's kind of what you need to make a brush. You don't want a bunch of words. I have enough brushes that are a bunch of words. But after this, looking for the brush that doesn't exist, but then I find this giant weird halftone brush that I don't even remember why I made or what I made it for. I think it was some sort of background. Take that, move it around a bit, figure out where I want it to look bloody in the good spot. I kind of want it to be around the mouth a little bit and a little on the fingers. So then I go in and I grab one of my halftone brushes, which are pretty fun to make, or you can get them pretty cheap. Brushes you can just get pretty cheap, and they're kind of time consuming to make sometimes. But so this is like a stippling brush kind of that I made, and just going in with that. And then once I get the big chunks out of the way, I go in and I use it as a stamp brush, because this brush, I don't know how other ones work, but it rotates every time you click it, so you can just dab like I'm doing here, and it kind of does an interesting effect with the halftone without looking just like, oh, here's a hard stipple line. And this is Night of the Living Dead colorized going on in the background, by the way. Fireside chat here. And then this is pretty much it. I mean, I was trying to do one thing and I ended up doing this. I think this looks pretty cool. It's not what I was originally going for, but I think it works probably even better than what I was originally trying to make. And you know, when I'm making title cards and stuff, a lot of times I'll just kind of let the image decide what I want it to be. Because if I get too roped into like trying to make something specific, then it feels more like work. Which is, you know, a lot of times when you have a client and stuff, you're trying to like make something specific that the client wants. But with this, I just kind of let the source material decide. And I don't know, a lot of people tell me that I find really cool source material. Where do I find it? And the answer is it's everywhere. It's just I don't know. I just look for public domain and free stuff. I'll put a link to my original image at the bottom if I remember. Or you can shoot me an email and ask me. Oh, and this is the old paper color trick where you just kind of throw a color down, a texture down, and then you drop that opacity. So there we go. This is our poster. I have it a square format. Zoom in a little bit. I think I did it 1500 pixels at 300 dpi, so it's like, I don't know, 5 inches square. So like a 3x5 image right there. But with the grain and stuff, I mean, you could separate the colors out, take the red, throw a threshold on it, blow it up super big as a bitmap. You know, same thing with the black, and it has that really good like screen printed look and feel. Pretty fucking cool stuff.